Hello and welcome back to Lawbringer, or should I say Judge Dredd Simulator. Yeah, apparently a couple of people didn't really get the reference, unfortunately, but some of you did, so that's great. Otherwise, yeah, if you know who Judge Dredd is, then obviously you're going to know the kind of justice that he's, going to enforce, and that's the reason why we're doing this whole execution thing, I mean, obviously, it's a very limited scope with what I can do with the RP or with the role play in regards to playing as him or playing as his ideology or whatever. But we're gonna try our best, and for me specifically, that very much regards is much more in regards to executions and so on and so forth. But we're gonna try our best here. Otherwise, what I'm actually gonna do, I've downloaded a new mod. Alright, I downloaded a new mod. It was recommended to me by someone in the comments, and I've got to say, I actually really like it. At least I like the premise of it. I haven't actually tried it out yet, because this is the first battle that I've been in. But also, I have also not changed my gear. I'm going to need to change the gear of my forces to be able to make it work properly. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make our units more defensive and less offensive, and I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner, to be honest. But yeah, that's actually going to be a thing that we really do need to, get going. But basically, someone said I should install this mod. It's called Shields. They block things, and thank you very much to the person that suggested that I download this, because what it actually does is it basically makes shields act as the same way that they did in Warband, where if a shield is on a back of a unit, it's going to block projectiles from any direction that hits the back. You know what I mean? So if there's a shield on the back, obviously it's going to block something, right? Well, in Bannerlord, that's not how it actually works. So that's the reason why this mod basically reverts the change of how shields work on the back to the way it was. So that's going to be really, in my opinion, it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes, because it in turn reduces our ranged capability, which obviously is pretty good, because otherwise we're going to be, well, doing this sort of thing where we can basically just stand in one position and just absolutely murder everything. Obviously that's not what I intended to actually do. What I intended was a hyper defensive force of units that were, well, very restricted in what they were able to do in terms of a ranged solution, but they did have some ranged. That's the whole point. I wanted some ranged, even if it's just a small amount. So what we're going to do is we have been able to achieve victory against Achaku. He is not particularly pleased about this because he is now going to die. But yes, apart from that, yeah, he's not very pleased at all. But yes, otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to change our units around. I'm actually going to very quickly go over here, execute this guy. Boom, there he goes. And we've also gained some additional gear. Now, obviously, bear in mind, I am going to be slowly replacing my gear. I know, I look like a bandit at the moment. Someone said that I look like a bandit because, well, let's face it, I'm wearing a huge amalgamation of different pieces of armor from all kinds of different places, and yes, sure, I definitely look like a bandit, but I didn't really want to go to a marketplace and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to spend all of my money on some armor when that armor could get upgraded through the use of us executing vassals. And generally, I feel like the execution mechanic at that point is actually going to be quite useful, because it might very well give us an upgrade of some kind. And in my opinion, that's actually kind of cool. But obviously, some people may not agree with that. But I kind of think it's kind of fun to do that kind of thing. But yeah, well, whatever the case, I'm going to be changing one set of throwing weapons to a shield. And we're going to see how that goes, because that means that shields on the back will in turn block arrows and various other projectiles the same way that they did in Warband, which is going to be very, very cool. And there you go, finally gained the Devious trait. It's actually been a while. I mean, I actually would have expected myself to actually gain the devious trait almost instantaneously, but apparently they were a bit slow with that, but oh well, whatever the case. The main reason why I'm actually staying here and not cutting away just yet is because I wanted you to see how much money we can possibly make here. I'm actually thinking that I will stay with one shield, mainly because I personally very much enjoy using throwing weapons, and for me specifically to have 4 or 5 less throwing weapons, I personally don't think it makes that big a difference if I have another shield or not. I mean, obviously having a second shield is definitely going to make me more defensive, more, you know, have more survival, but it is just not as fun for me personally. So I'm going to just leave it the way it is at the moment, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I will, you know, switch things up a little bit. And also, we're going to be getting a hammer. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten about getting a mace/hammer weapon, but the problem with getting a mace/hammer is that there aren't very many good ones. Actually, let me have a look here. These are actually not bad. Okay, never mind. I was apparently being a complete imbecile, but we are going to be spending quite a lot of money getting this, but now I'm just going to sell the rest of our weapons right there. Now we've got a mace. Okay, fantastic. That's really, really good. Now we've got 14,000, and I'm just going to customize my units real quick. Alright, so we are now done with upgrading, or well, shall we say side grading our units, and I'm also now going to be selling our prisoners. So you can see here I actually have, I really had to check to make sure that we did not have another vassal in our prisoners hold, because I thought to myself, wait a minute, there's 10,000 gold here? I mean, really, that seems like an exuberant amount to be able to gain just for regular prisoners, but that is apparently what it is. So we're going to be getting that 10,000. Pretty surprising, I gotta say, but yeah, well, whatever the case, let's move back into enemy territory. And once again, the rule is, you know what the rule is. We will be attacking anyone that we see. It doesn't matter how strong they are, we will be attacking any opponent. As long as they're not in an army, of course. If they are in an army, we might be able to even take them on if they have a pretty reasonably sized army, let's just say that. I feel like I might be able to achieve something at that point. So yeah, anyway, we do have a number of perks and attribute points and so on and so forth to spend, so let's actually just do that real quick before we get into the next engagement. When you're holding a throwing weapon, you take 10% less damage. Okay, yeah, I don't really care about that too much. Yeah, this might actually be the way to go, to be honest. 10% less damage from ranged attacks. I don't really care about that. I'm going to go for +1 ammunition for throwing weapons, and we have a 25% chance for the rest of our troops to be able to get +1 ammunition for them as well, which could be quite useful. I'm going to go for aid core here, kind of makes sense. And larger shield protection against projectiles. Yes, that sounds like a fun idea to me. Yeah. That sounds like a good plan. And otherwise, what are we going to do? Well, we obviously want to do scouting, we want to do charm, we want to do leadership, we want to do tactics and all that wonderful stuff. I might also want to do engineering as well, because I'm probably going to be besieging at least one thing. I mean, it very much depends on what we do with that. So I'm not sure whether I should spend my focus points on that at the moment. So I probably won't right now. But we do want to get some additional charm skill. Let's go for 1 more point in intelligence, 1 more point in social. And my charm skill should hopefully level up a little bit more too. Anyway, let's see if I can find someone eligible for us. If I can't find... Oh, hello. Yes, Monchug. Yes, just ignore me, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah. If I can't find anyone suitable, then we're going to have to besiege something. Yeah, we're actually going to have to besiege something, because that's the only way we can really draw enemies out. I'm actually thinking of taking Tepesh Castle, to be honest. I feel like that might be kind of a nice thing to do. Or we just go all the way over to Dinar Castle and we attempt to take that, because that is, of course, on the very outskirts of the enemy's territory, and, well, it might make the most sense defensively, you know, to be able to do that. 163 units they have available here. Alright, let's try it out. This is our first siege. I mean, literally, this is probably the fastest I've ever done a first siege, and indeed a war declaration as well. I mean, in the second episode, getting a war declaration going, and in the third episode, getting our first siege. I'm not sure if that is indeed the case, whether that is actually the fastest that I've been able to do. But if it is, then wow, that's actually kind of impressive. But I don't know. I think I probably could have been quicker. Do you think? Do you think I could have been quicker? Oh, hello there. Oh, we've gotten someone out of the mists, and they are now going to absolutely try to murder us, and obviously we will not allow it. So, with our newly renovated troops, you can see here, they all have shields on their backs now. With our wonderful banner, I don't know whether you've noticed what kind of banner I have, but it is a banner, you know, it's the scales, right? It's the scales of justice, of course. I mean, if you didn't realize that, but yeah. Otherwise, let's see what we can do. The enemy is quite far away, so I'm actually just going to tell our units to charge in at the moment, and then I will tell them to hold position when the enemy gets a little bit closer. There we go, like they have now. And let's go into a nice little loose formation there. Obviously, I have very, very few thrown weapons for our forces now. So this is very much a case of, are we going to get lucky? I don't really know. But, you know, the best thing that we can do right now is pretty much just murder as many of them as we can with the thrown weapons that we have available. And then from there, just murder everyone else with our mace. And this is actually the first time I get to try out my mace. So I'm actually not convinced by it at the moment. I'm doing very little damage. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, we're going to tell everyone to charge in now, and we'll see what we do here. Maybe I can get a little bit more one-handed weapon proficiency. I feel very underpowered at the moment with one-handed. I'm going to need to get more skill points with that. There we go, nice. Wow, that was a Khuzait Khan's Guard. Yeah, no wonder Abagai wanted to go in against us. Kind of makes sense that she would feel pretty confident about her forces. Having some Khan's Guards, I know how powerful they can be. You know, we have created a Khuzait Khanate series before where I focus primarily on using Khuzait units, and there were some amazing victories in that series. Actually, amazing real close calls as well. And there was a really funny bug in that one too, where we all of a sudden had over 1,000 scouting skill, and I don't know how I got that, because I wasn't using any mods to increase my experience at that point. So it was a bit weird. Anyway, we're going to be taking her prisoner once again. And I will be leveling everyone else as well, and we're going to be... I can't execute her right now, but I'm so eager that I just want to execute straight away. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that. Can I execute while we are in a siege? Yes, I can. Okay, fantastic. There we go. And we've gotten all of this other stuff now as well, which is actually super nice. So let's continue the siege, because I'm actually thinking that maybe it would be a good idea for me to continue construction of the battering ram and the siege tower and all that stuff, because that's going to mean that I will be able to gain additional engineering just that much faster. So it might actually be kind of useful for us. Let's check out the perks though that we've got in Steward here. Morale bonus from having diverse food is doubled. That could be very useful. Cost of upgrading units, I don't really care about that at all, so I'm actually going to be going for the first one. And we're going to be, I'm actually wondering, should I spec a point into engineering, or should I just max out charm? I think I'm going to max out charm for the moment, and we're going to go for another point in social. I think engineering should be okay for a little bit of time. Until we get to around 40 or so, it's not going to be slowing down that much. But obviously we're not going to be getting as many points along the way. So that could be a little bit problematic, but well... we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm actually going to be taking Last Hit here. Last Hit, especially with the HP per level mod installed and enabled, is probably one of the most powerful perks you can take, because if someone has, I don't know, let's say someone has 300 HP or something like that, and then with Last Hit, let's say they have, I don't know, 130 HP remaining, you're going to do so much damage that they cannot possibly live, even if you hit them in the foot or something like that. You know, it's going to be really funny as well, because you can just get such amazingly funny ragdolls with thrown weapons, and I adore those, as you may or may not know. So let's see what happens here. So we've now executed yet another vassal. They are not liking us one bit. Do you want to fight? Ooh, these two want to fight. Oh yeah, you can best bet these two want to fight. Okay, so this might be problematic. You can see they have 300 combat strength altogether, and they might very well add the siege garrison along with them, which would be problematic on a scale like no other, but... Should I be brave or should I be a coward? I think I will be brave. Let's try it. Ooh, this is... This, I don't know. This might be interesting. It might be interesting, or it might be a huge facepalm moment, because I might literally think to myself, oh yes, I think we can win this, but then we end up losing due to a mistake that I make. Yeah, because that's probably what's going to happen here. I'm pretty sure that my units are capable of victory here, but I need to make the right decisions at the right times for that to actually happen, because otherwise, you know how it is. Sometimes these things just don't go as you intend because maybe you make a mistake when you're not supposed to, and you know, it's that kind of thing. Oh dear. Anyway, I'm going to go into a loose formation here. Obviously, we're going to have to deal with the enemy's horse archers. I have taken a look at them. They are quite low tier. Most of them are quite low tier, so we shouldn't have so many issues with them, but I can assume that they're just generally going to be very difficult for our units to deal with on the whole, because let's face it, they have so many of them that they might very well wear us down quite a lot. I can actually pick up these javelins, can't I? Yeah. Oh, my forces are actually picking up javelins as well. That is very, very clever, isn't it? I love that. Okay, yeah. So, let me see. How are we doing? It seems okay. The enemy's infantry is nowhere near us. Where's the enemy infantry? Oh, they're right there. They're right behind us. Okay, let's tell our forces to charge in right now. I was actually hoping that I'd be able to get some more thrown weapon skill. As I say, I absolutely love thrown weapon skill, so if I can level that up a decent amount, then I will be pleased. Okay, so far it actually seems to be going mighty fine. And this kind of makes me think to myself, okay, do you think we can actually win against an extremely large army? Because from my perspective right now, we've lost very, very few units. And we've lost one. Yeah. We've lost one. Which is... okay. I was certainly not expecting that, that's for sure. I really was not expecting that. I thought to myself, okay, we'll probably lose a few, right? But we are not. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to... I don't even know. I'm maybe... Do my guys have much too good gear? It might be that they have way too good gear. Maybe they have too much defense. That might actually be what's happening here. But I mean, that is the I don't know. That is the premise of the series. If they don't have the best defensive gear, then there is frankly no point, right? If they don't have the best gear, then what am I doing here? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking things or whatever, but yes, whatever the case, we are going to be leaving the prisoners, and I will be taking all of the loot. Thank you very much. Ooh, we have now maxed out our carry capacity, so I'll have to leave a little bit of grain behind, but that is obviously not that big a deal. So we lost one unit, and many of my... really? And many of my other forces are still ready to fight. Okay, this is very interesting. Okay, well, let's actually, you know what? I'm going to increase the difficulty so much so by just staying here. The smart play would be for me to leave right now and to cut my losses, basically, or my very few losses. But that is not what I'm doing. I am playing such a risky game right now by me sticking around here and allowing these forces to potentially corner me once more, or I'm leading them into the Viper's nest, so to speak, and they do not know what is about to befall them. That could very well be the case as well, so I don't really know, but yeah, yeah. I'm actually, I mean, obviously these guys, they probably can't deal with me either, to be honest. I mean, the other fellows were much stronger than them, and we've only lost one unit, so generally, okay, you know what? Let's try something a little bit different here. All right, I'm gonna try and see. Let's charge every single person in. Now, usually, whenever I charge in a series, if I have archers, if I have cavalry, if I have whatever, you know, whatever kind of composition I have, someone is bound to say, "Charging is the worst thing you can do. Do not charge ever again," sort of thing, right? So that's usually a comment that I'll get. Now, this is the reason why I said in previous episodes of this series, okay, we're going to charge every time against the bandits, because that basically gives them the, shall we say, the greatest chance of being able to eliminate some of our forces. Because without charging, my forces are so defensive and so well emplaced into, well, I don't know, a height advantage area. You know, they're basically going to be untouchable, pretty much, right? If I play them, you know, with a brain. You know, if I play them with a brain, then obviously it's going to be very difficult for the AI to achieve victory. But if I play them how sometimes the AI plays, which is pretty much just to, you know, charge straight on in, then it might actually add a little bit more of an interesting... Oh dear. I'm going to get murdered now. Yes, it might add a bit more of an interesting slant on the whole thing. That's the reason why I said, yeah, let's just charge in here. Because that might very well provide us with that situation, provide us with that tense, you know, kind of thing where we actually end up losing a couple of units, you know, here and there. But it seems like maybe we have too much defense. Is this the most unstoppable force that we've ever seen in Bannerlord? Because I'm actually thinking now, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think? This is just purely hypothetical, purely, you know, theoretical sort of, you know, just a discussion, basically. This is not for anything in particular, but what do you think is the most powerful unit you can create with my little warband? That's the thing. I'm not sure, because if I think about these units right now, and I think about my previous series where we focused primarily on glass cannon, so in other words, very lightly armored, but a lot of ranged capability, a lot of damage coming out from those units. And if I think about these two unit types against each other, well, I'm not sure who could achieve victory. I think probably these guys, because they are just way too defensive for anyone to be able to really, you know, get through this tough armor, get through the tough shields and everything. So I'm thinking probably these guys would win so far. So what would be more powerful than these guys? Because I'm obviously thinking cavalry at this point. I'm thinking cavalry is probably going to be, you know, stronger than infantry, because that's generally how it goes. You know, infantry is, I mean, it depends on what kind of infantry, but infantry is generally good against cavalry if they have spears. If they don't have spears, then infantry is primarily used to, you know, perpetrate sieges and things that don't really require a huge amount of mobility. However, if you then take a look at, for example, cavalry, horse archers, and so on and so forth, and you think to yourself, well, what is the best that I can make out of those archetypes? Well, then I'm thinking, well, maybe the Crusade, you know, the Crusade horse archers. We've now gained the deceitful trait. Oh yes, we have. But yeah, then I'm thinking of the horse archers from the Crusade, of course, and I'm thinking how strong they have been in the past for me, and just how powerful they can end up in the right hands, you know, in the right situations where it's not a siege. Because any field battle, these horse archers are going to murder. Or at least, most of the time they will murder. Oh, Misui is actually coming over here. Oh, hello there. Alright, you're wanting to fight. Okay, well, sure. Well, this is going to be kind of interesting, isn't it? Okay, did I level up? No, I did not level up. Okay, well, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so, yeah. So, my question to you is, what do you think? Do you think my guys right here, my judge units, or my judges, whatever you want to call them, you think these guys would lose against a relatively similarly geared and statted force of either heavy cavalry, and I'm talking about lances here, I'm talking about heavy shields, cavalry shields, and things like that, or the same sort of similar gear on some horse archers? Because for me specifically, I'm actually not sure. I'm gonna once again charge. Once again, this is just a pure charge order, because this gives the enemy the greatest chance to actually, you know, actually do damage to us. And you also have to bear in mind that even if we are charging here, and even if we are using our thrown weapons, which of course we inevitably are, we are letting ourselves be open, so we are not using our shields most of the time. Like, yes, we do have our shields out, of course, but many of the times when we're being shot at, we have our shields at a bit of an angle, so the enemy has more of an opportunity to shoot us and so on. But that actually doesn't seem to be happening at the moment. Oh no. Is this gonna... That's the thing, I'm now questioning whether I should have even done this, because it feels to me like this is way too strong. Is it way too strong? I don't know. It feels very strong at the moment, because I mean, you've seen me. I've basically I've gotten what, 5 kills? Yeah, I've gotten 5 kills myself. I have very scarcely had to do, well, almost anything in these fights, and my forces have been able to win pretty much by themselves. Which then begs the question, again, once more, you know, is this the most powerful unit type that you can create? Or, you know, somewhat similar unit type that you can create? Because if I think about other unit types, like if I say, I don't know, crossbowmen or something like that, and then I think about crossbowmen versus these guys, no, I don't think crossbowmen would be able to beat these fellows. But on the other hand, what if we think about, I think the only... Okay, here's the thing. I think, you know what's actually really funny about this? There's a nice mace that actually just got added to my inventory right there. I might have to check that out in just a second. But yeah, I think the one thing that might actually be really strong is probably going to be a force entirely comprised of thrown weapon users. Now, that might be a huge gimmick, which obviously it pretty much is, right? You know, it's just a huge gimmick for me to just, you know, have an army completely comprised of thrown weapon people, but just hear me out. I feel like it actually is the most powerful, probably is the most powerful in the entire game, and might be able to achieve victory against pretty much any opponent. Obviously, if the enemy gets into melee range, then they might have to switch to like a one-handed or a two-handed or something like that. But if they had a set of 3 thrown weapons and then one-handed weapon or 1 two-handed or something like that, then yeah, that's the only thing I can really assume at this point. So yeah, I don't know, but let me know your thoughts. Because that's actually kind of interesting to me. But anyway, I'm gonna build some ballistas here, and we're probably finally going to be going in against this castle here. And we've also leveled up once more, and we have another perk to spend in engineering, which increases our equipped shield hit points by 30%. And of course I am going to be taking that. I mean, why wouldn't I, right? And I think what I'm going to do is I will probably take another point in engineering here and another point in social so that we can continue to level up these skills over here. And I'm basically just going to be building a couple of ballistas. I'm actually losing units due to building in this siege. Yeah. Okay. I think I could probably win against this guy as well, but I'm actually going to put a stop to this whole death train at the moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the siege and actually take the castle, and then we'll see if maybe my forces are weaker at siege offense than than doing field battles. Yeah, I'm laughing because generally I feel like my forces would probably be the strongest doing this. What's actually going on here? What kind of door is this? What? Is this a door that you can literally bash down? Okay, I'm very surprised. I'm being shot at from somewhere. Where am I being shot at? Okay, my forces are now... What were they doing here, by the way? They seem to be able to get in here without any issues. Okay, kind of interesting. Anyway, I'm going to... Ow. Okay, I am getting shot from up there by the looks of things. Okay, so I'm going to have to be more careful. I'm looking a bit more like a porcupine now, so yeah, let's try to avoid that a little bit. Ugh. Getting shot from all kinds of various angles is always annoying. Like that, for example. Yes. Oh, that is always irritating, isn't it? Oh well, never mind, never mind. It seems like my forces were finally able to get inside. Generally, I feel like I probably shouldn't have even bothered building my siege towers or my battering ram, because it feels to me like even if I had done nothing and my forces had just gone in through that little door, I didn't even realize there was a little door like this. I wonder. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, yeah, they've obviously been able to achieve victory here with very minimal casualties. How many did we lose? We actually lost 19, so that was much, much more difficult than doing these doing these field battles that we've done so far. So that's actually kind of interesting. A bit weird why we were not losing that many during the field battles, but losing a huge amount in the sieges. But I suppose, that's just how it goes sometimes. Anyway, cancel the tutorial for that, and we'll show some mercy here, and I have now captured this. Okay, so we're going to go into the actually not into the garrison, I want to go into the dungeon here. And we're going to put most of our forces in here, or shall we say most of the low tier units in here, because they are slowing us down unnecessarily, and I would prefer not to have to deal with them. And there we go. All right, so then otherwise what we're going to do is we're just going to wait here for some time. This fellow is obviously going to attempt to besiege us, but hopefully my forces will be able to get back on their feet before he actually starts the siege completely. But I don't know whether he really wants to do this, to be honest. I mean, I only have 66 units. Oh, they've abandoned it. Okay. I'm not sure why they... What? Why are you running away? Is it because... It's because the Sturgians are at war against the Khuzait. Okay, now that's actually interesting. I did not even realize that that was actually a thing. I really didn't. Yeah. Well, obviously it kind of makes sense considering the Sturgians usually get absolutely murdered by the Khuzait in many, many respects, but... Yeah, okay, well, that gives me a good opportunity to... Well, I'm pretty much just going to leave Dinar Castle the way it is, but what we're going to do is we're just going to do some recruiting here. Just going to recruit as many units as I can get my hands on. Tier 3 units are perfectly acceptable. Don't really care too much about the castle, to be honest. The only reason why I wanted to do it is, well, I mean, just generally for testing, just to see what's actually going on here. And obviously the renown rewards are very... very plentiful for doing sieges. And so if you ever need a quick boost of renown to get to the next clan tier or something like that, the best tip I can give you is just besiege something that is very weak, because you're going to get a pretty significant amount of renown no matter what, from what I can tell. So yeah, anyway, let's just continue to recruit some units here. I am having some pretty big problems with the relation in this area as well, because I just haven't fought any bandits at the moment. I mean, I've just basically been fighting vassals, which is obviously one of, again, one of the main weaknesses of this series as well, is the fact that I haven't had a huge amount of setup time. So all these bandits that I'm fighting, well, I mean, they're very well, it's very well and good to basically fight these guys, but obviously if you think about how, you know, in a normal playthrough, when you don't declare war almost instantly and you don't become a mercenary or anything like that, you're not gonna have that same foundation, that same solid foundation that every single other character that you've played has. And in my case, that means I have a very low relation with a lot of the villagers in the area. For example, this guy has a -2 relation with me. I mean, there's no reason for him to have a -2 relation with me, but he does, because that's just how it is sometimes. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to me. Anyway, this guy is actually part of one of the minor factions. I'm going to be attacking him and just auto-resolving against him. And we're going to be taking him prisoner. Now, here's the thing. I do know that taking the minor factions prisoner is absolutely useless. It really is probably one of the most useless things that one can do in the game, because minor factions are protected by the game from pure extinction by some kind of game mechanic. That's what I've heard and what I've experienced before. I might be incorrect now, because I obviously have not done any kind of executing in quite some time, and so I might be incorrect, and my information might actually be outdated. But from what I know, executing minor factions is useless. It's basically pointless. It's one of the most pointless things you can do. So don't do it if you are not doing an execution run like I'm doing. So yeah, just a warning there for those of you. And otherwise, we're just going to be selling every single thing that I can here. Kind of weird that these things are not selling for as much as you'd think. Look at this Warlord helmet, for example. This is a tier 6 helmet with 51 head armor, and it sells for 29 gold. Is that wrong? That feels wrong to me. I don't know. It feels like it's a little bit skewed, the pricing. I'm actually not entirely sure what's going on with that, but okay. Never mind. Let's just sell everything. 34,000 right there. Very, very quick and easy. And I'm also going to be selling my prisoners. Just going to make sure that I don't have any vassals. There we go. Sell all of those. And we now got to 25 roguery too. So that's actually quite nice as well. Okay. So let's see. Prisoners are 20% less likely to escape from towns. That's probably going to be the thing that will be the most useful. Increase my max health. Yes. Increase my max health by 5. That sounds good to me. Alright, so yeah, that kind of makes me question what I should be doing here. What do you suggest? Do you have any suggestions? If you have any suggestions about how I can make this or shall we say more difficult, because at the moment everything seems relatively I mean, I could limit myself. I could limit my the amount of units that I have. That might be something to consider, but then I think to myself, well, that kind of just I don't know, it's a bit more of an artificial handicap, which is not really something that I wanted to do. I didn't really want to limit the amount of units that I have, because in the grand scheme of things, if I actually come across a fight that is very difficult, then I would like to be able to have the option to participate in that particular fight. But if I have a limit on the amount of units I have, then obviously that's going to make it impossible to do that, I guess. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to really do, because I actually thought to myself, oh, you know what? Yeah, actually removing one of those thrown weapons and adding an additional shield, that's going to make it so that they're not more powerful, but they have more survivability, which is obviously the main point of the, main point of the series, with the exception of obviously the whole executing thing. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens, and maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll get down to executing even more Khuzait, and maybe we'll get to see a little bit of territory conquering and stuff like that. Because let's actually just I wanted to check the Khuzait. Okay, so none of their clans have been eliminated so far. And you can see here that they do have a number of, I mean, wow, yeah, we've done a number on this particular clan, that's for sure. But yeah, generally none of their clans have been eliminated just yet. And my castle is currently under siege, which is to be expected, of course. But I don't think that's actually going to really make that much difference, because I can basically just go straight on in there, take it back, and get a decent renown reward as a result of that too. So I'm not really putting too much stock in territory or land at the moment, because I know that if I do end up, you know, executing every single one of the Khuzait, that, well, I'm not going to have too many difficulties with territory for a while, let's just say that. But yeah, I think that's probably going to be it for this episode. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.